When 4 needy and hunted young mutants come out of the woodwork, will Rogue be able to rise to the occasion and become the teacher a new generation of new mutants need? Well, let's hop into the pages of Uncanny X-Men issue number 3 and find out together, shall we? Alrighty then, so as we join the issue, we actually get to check on in with Professor Xavier, who in this issue is 100% confirmed to not only still be alive, but to actually be Dr. Ellis's prisoner over in the Grey Malkin facility. Here's the twist though, Chuck is actually currently being tortured by Sarah, aka the Hag, the magical mutant bounty hunter, who was hired by Ellis to track down the X-Men's newest students, though it seems that she's enjoying a little bit of extracurricular activity right now, screwing with her former ex. Which, of course, when I say ex, I mean ex-boyfriend. I know when we're talking about X-Man stories that the ex could mean literally anything, so I felt like I really needed to explain myself there. Now back over with Rogue and the others, Anne-Marie comes to after another rough night. She talks about how much she likes this place that Gambit has put her and the others up in. It's a sweet, homey place that offers a feeling of safety and stability that Rogue hasn't always felt in her life. When she goes down for breakfast, she sees that Logan is already well awake and polishing off a bottle of tequila. Rogue asks Logan if it's a little early to be drinking, only for Wolverine to fire back with the funniest line of the issue when he says, "Matt, maybe for you, but for me it's about 40 years too late." Now, believe it or not, the old knucklehead isn't just day drinking, he's also been going out of his way to check on the new young mutants. No, not because he's all touchy-feely, but because he actively doesn't trust them and wants to learn what their deals are. And as always, Wolverine's read on these new mutants are actually pretty telling. He says that Ransom sleeps like a guy who's probably slept rough for most of his life. Jitter is a sweet kid, but pretty messy. Calico won't leave the side of her horse and actually fell asleep in the barn. And as far as Death Dream goes, well, he's awake too. In fact, he probably never actually went to sleep because he's been hanging out in the local graveyard this whole time. Which, I mean, can you blame him? This is Louisiana. They have some of the coolest graveyard architecture in the entire world. Have you seen those mausoleums? They're great. It's also around here too, Wolverine ends up breaking the bad news to Rogue that he's leaving. He says that he's got the itchy feet, that he's got the wild feeling inside him again, which is pretty par for the course with Wolverine and actually connects pretty nice to what Saladin Ahmed is doing over in his own solo series. Naturally, Rogue doesn't want to see him go, but at the same time, Logan says that he wouldn't leave if he didn't think Rogue could handle this, and handle this she will have to. As even though she didn't ask for it, she has basically ended up falling right into the role of leader for this brand new team, though even though she is leading this new X team, she is still a guest. And Marcus, the nice human guy and friend of Gambit who's been putting up Rogue and everyone else, decides to put the mutants to work around his property. After a day spent with pulling up stumps and clearing brush though, Anne-Marie thinks now would be the perfect time to test the kids' abilities and get to know them a little better, and what better way to do that than with a danger room exercise. Of course, they don't have advanced holographic technology out here in Louisiana, so they need to do the next best thing, which is of course throw together a bunch of old scrap and farm equipment and call it the new danger room. Luckily, Nightcrawler is on hand though to actually make this exercise a little bit more challenging. What is it? Well, it couldn't be more simple. Use your powers to steal the belt from Kurt and tell us a little bit about yourself while you do it. First up is Jitter, real name Sophia. She's the one who speaks with a stutter. It seems that her power allows her to be great at anything, but only for about an hour. These two things didn't exactly make her many friends in school, where she was mercilessly bullied by a group of girls. One day, Jitter completely snapped and attacked them, even going as far as to accidentally cripple the main mean girl. Yikes, and would you believe me if I told you that's not even the darkest origin story we get treated to this issue? Next up, there's Ransom, real name Valentine. Apparently, he has the ability to redirect energy. He was also born without a heart, a fact of which freaked out his rich parents so much they didn't even bother trying to get him back when he was kidnapped for ransom, thus the name. And honestly, the harder-edged attitude as well. After that, there's Calico, the spoiled rich girl who doesn't actually believe herself to be a mutant because her overbearing and controlling mother actively hated mutants, calling them goblins and monsters. The only friend Calico had was her horse Ember, which which also just so happened to be the only horse she managed to save when her house mysteriously burned down with her mother inside. The book doesn't come out and say it, but the implication here is that Calico might very well have burned down her own house and just doesn't remember or doesn't want to remember. And oh yes, they saved the grimmest for last, Death Dream aka Hatoru. This poor kid's mother died in childbirth, which he was able to ask her about 3 months later. Because he can see and speak with the dead. In fact, he has died several times. He was actually born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his own neck, hanging him. But every time he keeps dying, he keeps on coming back. He also has some otherworldly supernatural abilities as well. Ones that allow him to overwhelm Nightcrawler. Also, being able to talk to the dead too means that Death Dream is actually an expert on everybody's business. He even calls Kurt a failed priest and a failed pirate, things that he would have no way of knowing unless someone on the other side told him. With this training exercise quickly going south, Rogue has no choice but to step on in and break things up, which she does. Hatoru profusely apologizes, again going to prove just how much work it's going to take to actually whip these teens into shape and help them control their abilities moving forward, though on the upside, all the terror and confusion did offer Calico the opportunity to steal the belt that she was after, so these kids do certainly show their promise. It's after that, though, we check back on in with Wolverine. He's finally managed to make it into the woods, though he's not there for long when he ends up coming under attack by the Hag. As Wolverine notes, not just anyone should be able to sneak up on him, but somehow the Hag is actually able to alter her presence in the world, either through actual magic or through mutant power. I'm not exactly sure yet. The Hag is also able to go blade to blade, with Logan's own adamantium packing some new metal of her own called Soro Steel, a new special type of metal that is forged from the blades of deceased killers. The Hag ends up getting the upper hand on Wolverine and dealing him a grievous wound. In fact, in his agony, Wolverine actually ends up reaching out to Rogue, who surprisingly can hear him. Which is honestly just as surprising to her because, well, Rogue didn't think she had touched anyone with psychic powers, so she shouldn't be able to do this, and yet somehow as the comic ends, she is. And so that was Uncanny X-Men issue number 3, everybody, and once again, I'm really loving what Gail Simone is laying down here. The team dynamics are a lot of fun, Rogue begrudgingly becoming a leader, to some really messed up kids with a real laundry list of problems that they're going to need to deal with, is just real good X-Men stuff. I also dig that the Hag, even though she's working for Dr. Ellis, maybe has her own secret agenda dealing with Xavier, who, speaking of, it seems that they have him locked in a Cerebro room, which means the bad guys probably want him to use it to help them track down other mutants to imprison at Grey Mulkin. Marquez's art continues to impress too, managing to really express a ton of different emotions, especially during the much sadder and heavy flashbacks, while also capturing the more fun and playful stuff like Nightcrawler doing this very silly little impromptu danger room exercise. It's all good stuff and it all works from start to finish. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one an 8.5 out of 10. It's real solid, and it's really nice to see the audience for this book really kinda circle around it and champion it, which is saying something because there's a lot of really good X-Men books out there right now.
Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.